Well, as you might imagine, good lawyers show up well prepared for examination of witnesses in any proceeding. A prepared lawyer can usually tell if a witness is going to be easy to lead, some like to say trap, into damaging testimony. And the tell signs are the witness acting rude or condescending or playing games with the questions or the facts, signaling that they are more interested in something other than the question or accurate responses. And such distractions allow a prepared lawyer to kind of judo flip that mischief into the witness not seeing where the questions are going until it's too late. One time I was cross-examining a deputy who treated me like I was stupid from the moment that we were introduced. So, using my incredible acting skills, I made him think he was so much smarter than me that he focused on how he trapped me, show me up, not where my questions were leading. It was only after the deputy completely discredited a breathalyzer test, the very linchpin of the case against my client, that he paid attention. But then it was too late. He lost the case for the state, rightly so. We have this sort of justice interrogation stuff going on in today's story. Only one of the questioners is prepared, Jesus. And while the disciples of the religious elite are wholly unprepared, so they lose the case, so to speak. Jesus had been challenging the unpopular Roman rule and its appointed elite since the start of what we now call Holy Week. And the crowd was loving it, so much so that Caesar's henchmen, the religious elite, couldn't just arrest him. What they needed is something to get him without upsetting the throng that was gathered for Passover. So they decided to try and trap Jesus into saying something to either upset the crowd who did not want to pay the oppressive taxes to Rome, or to blatantly upset Rome by illegally urging the crowd aloud in front of everybody to not pay the taxes, which was a treasonable and arrestable offense. And perhaps thinking themselves beneath chatting with the likes of Jesus, the elite sent their arrogant and condescending agents to do the questioning. The agents thought they were smarter than Jesus, and they start with condescending flattery. And here's a free legal tip. If a lawyer ever starts questioning you by buttering you up, watch out. The elite's lackey buttering up, which was sure to please the crowd, and actually was not untrue, went like this. Teacher, we know you are sincere, and teach the way of God in accordance with the truth, and show deference to no one. For you do not regard people with partiality. Tell us then what you think. Well, that's setup stuff, and it might work if the follow-up questions are a bit more subtle, but the lackeys segue awkwardly, even humorously, trying to throw the trap, abruptly asking after sugary sweet schmoozing, "You are super nifty, Jesus. Is it lawful to pay taxes or not?" Jesus is one smart cookie. Not only is he aware of their malice, as the text tells us, but he begins setting a counter trap by cleverly misdirecting their attention, snapping at them. "Why are you putting me to the tests, you hypocrites?" And the questioners now have got to be put off their guard. They're thinking, "Oh no, he knows we're enemies likely to trap him." Jesus lets them know that he knows it's a trick, but then he misdirects them, easing their minds with what they must have considered an unexpected, easy, simpleton-like question, as if he's such a poor rube, as if he's never seen one before. He asks for a coin. "Show me the coin used for the tax," he says. And the elite got to be thinking, he's so poor and stupid, he doesn't even know what's on a coin, let alone have one. And since they had coins to show the crowd, and he didn't, Jesus' words show how much better the elite are than him, and most of the crowd for that matter. And this misdirection by Jesus would have suggested to them Jesus didn't understand they were trying to trap him after all, because they had to be thinking he was going to stare at the coin and eventually answer either yes, pay Caesar, or no, don't pay Caesar. And either answer was a trap. Yes, the crowd turned on him, and they could arrest him for disruptive conduct during Holy Week, or no, Rome has all its need to arrest him for rebelling in front of a crowd of witnesses against the empire. And Jesus tells them to show me the coin that's used for the tax. And digging for the coins to show they have one and know what one is, the elite don't even give a second thought to Jesus setting them up to give evidence against themselves. They don't see it coming. They fall right into his trap. As we're told, they brought him a denarius. A denarius was the smallest Roman silver coin of the realm, and it represented, as I mentioned last month, a day's wage. And it is significant because it was a particular Roman coin with the image of Caesar on it. See, these elite lackeys sent by Roman appointed religious leaders and a Jewish king are in one respect like Jesus and the crowd. They too are Jewish. And Jewish law prohibited carrying coins bearing images. In other words, having the coins in violation of Jewish law discredits the elite in front of the crowd. They have abhorred contraband, tainted, sacrilegious Roman coins in their possession. So who's the traitor in the eyes of the crowd now? The religious elite. The trap's closing. Jesus goes out of his way to put teeth into the trap, asking them to say aloud for all who hear, in case they've never seen that particular coin, whose head is on this and whose title. And the image is, as I said, Caesar's. And the title that was on the coin for Caesar is Son of God. And when the elite describes Caesar's head as on the coin, the trap's closed, the teeth are set. They've just confessed that they are carrying and own the idol of a Roman deity. More than that, Caesar is in essence the ruthless pharaoh of first century Palestine. It's Caesar who now oppresses the Hebrew people in Palestine. And these agents of the religious elites have in their pocket not only a day's wages while many starve, but the coin they carry asserts that the one who oppresses them, Caesar, is divine in nature. It's an outrage, sure to further align the crowd with Jesus. It's a pretty effective question. Jesus is a master at it. And to add wounds to the now trapped elite, Jesus then escapes what they must have considered a foolproof trap. As soon as they entered the emperor's head and title on the coin, Jesus said to them, "Give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and God the things that are God's." Over the years, many religious elite have tried to read this answer to justify separating political and religious obligations of Jesus, as if Jesus was teaching we should be obedient to our emperors. That's what the elite have pitched that this story is about. And that's actually poppycock. It's a word I learned from a federal judge that I clerked for. Poppycock. It's great. Jesus was not obedient to the state. That's why it's poppycock. That's why Rome arrested, tried, and executed, because he wasn't following their laws. And Paul was also not obedient to the state. That's why Rome arrested, tried, and executed him. Indeed, all the martyrs killed by Rome were like Jesus and Paul, disobedient to Caesar by following the real Son of God. Jesus, Paul, early Christians in the early church challenged the state head on. In fact, if you think about it, this church, with its anti-slavery beginnings, was formed over the issue of challenging the government too. Our forebears deliberately challenged and set out to not obey laws that helped slavery. We actually opposed them and worked to free slaves, a crime at the time. Here's the thing, what Jesus is doing in the story is simultaneously evading a trap and turning the trap on the hostile interrogators, all the while making us think about the human image not being on a coin, but how we're supposed to be God's image, regardless of class or status. Genesis tells us we are all made in God's image. What Jesus meant in the context of the story by saying, give to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God with respect to the coin, was literally, it's Caesar's coin. Give it back to him. That's Marcus Borg's conclusion in his fantastic new book, Convictions. Dr. Borg goes on to note that today's story does not answer the obvious follow-up question, what belongs to God? He writes, the text does not answer this question, but the answer is obvious. Everything belongs to God. The earth is the Lord's and fullness thereof, as Psalm 24 puts it. And if everything belongs to God, nothing belongs to Caesar. Everything belongs to God. If that's true, and surely it must be, then what is the meaning of Jesus' statement, give therefore to the emperor the things that are the emperor's, and to God the things that are God's? Well, it seems to me Jesus' statement cleverly traps us all into a narrow conclusion of hearing that broadly all is God's, and that we are to give God what is God. We must give our all to God and all back to God. What's really interesting is that a lot of us might first think of our money, our silver denarius, our day's wage. But Jesus doesn't seem to care much about money in this or any other story. He traps the elite with the literal idolatry in their purses, the face of Caesar, and the claim that he, Caesar, was the Son of God. They're caught with the idolatry given to money and to power. So much so it overrules their allegiance to and reverence for God and the scriptural call to justice and fairness and love and peace. Jesus' answer at Caesar's coin, give it back to it, is meant to completely diminish the huge place money takes on in our day-to-day life, what we might call living for the almighty buck. Jesus' focus is on all that is God's, which in the big scheme of things, in a universal or even in a small earthly sense, far, far outweighs, outshines, outvalues, and certainly dwarfs any elite's powers, coinage, or even personal behavior, like backing the powerful and seeking to control behavior and beliefs like the religious elite do in the story, or like they do today, worrying and pitching to us a gospel about personal prosperity, trying to control sexuality and abortion and gay marriage and prayers in school or thoughts on creation, all issues that are not championed by God or any other prophet in the Bible. The issues Jesus and all the other prophets champion are about justice and fairness and love and peace. In the story today, Jesus is trying to get everyone listening to not fret about money, to not revere it, and to not only give all over to God and do it God's way, but to also consider the vast sum of all the things that God has made and revere God in it all. You know, consider the lilies of the valley, the birds of the air, a sunny day, a smiling face, the moon, fall leaves, children's laughter, a loved one's touch, rainbows, jokes, music, books, movies, grass, oceans, brooks, food, loved ones. The list goes on and on and on. All the glorious stuff that really ought to matter is God's. And that, I think, is Marcus Borg's point, that Jesus is teaching us that the emperor's coins and taxes and power mean nothing in comparison to that which is God's. And when we dedicate, when we pay homage, when we idolize and revere God in and through all that is in our lives, our focus on what matters, God. God in lilies and children and birds and sunsets and such. And most especially, God in justice and fairness and love and peace. That's what the Bible is about. It's what Jesus' teachings are about. Understanding all that matters is God's, and all that should matter to us is God. And when we do that, we don't just feel blessed, we become blessings. Indeed, we become more fully the image of God, what the Bible from the start tells us we really are. All intended to be God's images in creation. It's It's not the Caesars and the religious elite who stand out and matter as they'd like us to believe. It's everybody. And it's supposed to be everything, which is the point of Psalm 24, the words that I read earlier. Earth is the Lord's, and all that is in it, the world and those who live in it. For he has founded it on the seas and established it on the rivers. Who shall ascend the hill of the Lord? And who shall stand in his holy place? Those who have clean hands and pure hearts, who do not lift up their souls to what is false, and do not swear deceitfully. They will receive blessing from the Lord and vindication from God of their salvation. Such is the company of those who seek him, who seek the face of the God of Jacob. The face of God is in everyone and in everything. May we revere God